Welcome to another episode of Harrell Wrestling Talk. It's that time of month again, and we will be doing another first for our special segments. We wanted to incorporate our listeners into our pay-per-view prediction picks, and so each month from now on, we're going to have, a listener come on and kind of give his thoughts on the pay-per-view and his picks as well. So we're definitely looking forward to that. On the show today, though, we're going to have Zach Bohannon, and he's going to be guest starring in our special segment. We also are very proud to announce that we are a official affiliate of the WWE shop. If you're just looking to buy some new gear, if you go to our website, there's a link there. If you order it through there, you're going to get your items at the exact same cost, but you're going to be able to, help support our show. So we definitely would appreciate all our fans and listeners to do that. But let's just get right into our first headline this week. We pretty much summed up all the loose matches for Battleground for Sunday. Definitely a full card. Jacob, just throwing it out, what are you most looking forward to?
Oh, with Battleground, it's kind of been disappointing, this build up for Battleground. Money in the Bank was such a great pay-per-view, at least in the terms of build up, that this one can't compare. And like we've talked about before, this is a build up for one thing, and that's SummerSlam. So the Rusev and the Swagger, that's been a great build up. And I also think the Usos and the Wyatts, nothing they can do is bad. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I've actually gotten more excited for the Fatal 4-Way. I wasn't really signed on to it at, almost a month ago when they kind of announced it, but I'm definitely looking forward to it now, and I am excited for the tag team match. I think that'll be great. You definitely got the battle royal too. That who knows really who could, just about any of these guys could come out as champion, minus a great Khali or somebody like that. And then I'm excited as well to see Chris Jericho back in action. So, it's definitely a full card, and there'll be a lot of excitement. But like you said, it's almost okay. They're thinking, let's just try to get through this and get into SummerSlam, and then kind of start things over again.
Right. And to me, this is a great focus on, or at least for us to focus on, is the torch going to be passed to the people, or are they still going to focus on some of these veterans that have a lot of miles in their tank? So depending on how everything plays out, that'll kind of show the direction for the next about 6 months that they're going to head, because SummerSlam's that big mark before they get to the Royal Rumble.
Right, it, and so it'll definitely be an exciting one.
hmm Well, Monday's Raw seemed to be like a repeat of last week's Raw. Bray Wyatt continued his attacks on Chris Jericho. The Real American got his best of Rusev. Ambrose was ambushed by the Authority's men. Sting, the Icon, made an appearance. Miz finally picked up a victory. Paul Heyman talks about a possible Plan C for the Authority. What was your reaction to Raw this week?
I thought it was really good. This is, one that I actually watched live, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat for most of the night waiting for anything Sting. And, we'll kind of get into him a little bit more. But outside of that, I just enjoyed the build up towards the main event. It was kind of predictable. We were tweeting out beforehand, and when Ambrose got jumped, it was almost a gimme that it was going to be a 2-on-3, and then the way it kind of went down towards the end. But overall, I thought it was a solid. It was definitely a lot better than last week's Raw, and so I definitely enjoyed that. But what was your kind of reaction for it?
See, I think it was better than last week's. I don't know. I still give it a B. It didn't have that punch in the mouth. Obviously, the Sting high was the highlight of it. The Rusev and the Swagger, like I said before, that's definitely money, because that crowd just eats that up. The whole anti-American versus the American. Bray Wyatt, you can tell he has an eye injury because if you look at him during his attack on Jericho, his eye is all swollen and black and blue. So I'm guessing that's why he hasn't had a match, which we've talked about before. That's why he has been absent. But honestly, that's probably best for his character because the less you have of him, the less you get worn out of him. So it almost makes you want to have his matches more when you don't
Right.
have him.
Yeah, and I mean that's because it's almost a reward to get to see him wrestle, and so I think a lot of times, like you said, the less is more. Well, before we do, like we said, get into the Sting talks, there looked like to be a serious injury for Seth Rollins. Now, normally, it can be a play, can be kind of, whatever, but when you definitely see a referee making hand signals and calling in, doctors, it definitely tends to be more of a serious injury. Um, Now there has been reports though earlier on this week that maybe it was just a play for just to build up the fatal four-way match, but what's your take on it, Jacob? Do you think he might actually be injured or?
We got to remember we're in this quote unquote realistic era. So everything that happens now pretty much could be a work. I think honestly it's not a serious injury. He might have tweaked it, but I think this is all storyline based because this takes and you don't have Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose is injured. They were originally supposed to have a battleground match between the two. Now you can take that out of the card and you still carry on this feud without even having a match. So to me, this is a way of let's get plan B out of this, get plan B, wipe it clean. Plan A is not going to work. So then we'll get into this about the plan C. This is all a story to build up to SummerSlam.
And I figured that we would get to see, um, because the whole entire time I was watching, I thought, okay, this is serious because, like I said, anytime you see a referee making those kind of gestures, that it's not normal. And so I was thinking that, Ambrose was going to come down. He was going to kind of, save the day, and then you don't get to see him. But then at the same time, they are focusing on the Fatal 4-Way participants, and so, I see it more as part of the act, I guess.
Right. And with injuries, you got to realize that the less they make it a big deal, usually the bigger the deal is. So I can understand how this could be an injury, but hopefully for the sake of story and for Seth Rollins himself, it's not a real injury. Raw provided all the old WCW fans a flashback to 1997 when the icon Sting made his official WWE debut in the WWE 2K15 promo. I personally got goosebumps watching the promo. What do you think about the promo, and what's this mean about the future in Sting?
I was excited for it. I almost wish that they would have done a little bit less just to kind of build it up, maybe over the next couple weeks, add another part and add another part. It was funny because as it was getting ready, I'm texting you because, I knew they were talking about it. And I called the princess in, and my wife was standing there watching it, and I was like so pumped and so jacked up for it. And she's
Yeah.
like, "This is what you guys have been waiting for years, is a video game character." And I was like, "No, no, there's more to this." And so I hope that there's more to it. The longer time goes on, though, I'm so afraid that there's not going to be more into it, but I think if anything, this is the year. If we get into basically after WrestleMania and there's still no Sting, I feel like the video game's as best as we're going to get.
Yeah, the promo was amazing because it built Sting up to be almost like the Undertaker's level, where you see just a little bit. I mean, the beauty of this promo, if you look on Twitter, there's so many new display pictures with Sting and that look around when he turned to look over his shoulder. That photo is everywhere. I still think Sting's going to have a match. I think we're not going to hear Sting. We might see him in the Raptors maybe closer to the game to kind of promote it. But I still think that we will see Sting around Royal Rumble, December, January time. I think he'll have his match. It might not be against the basically with The Undertaker, but I think we will get Sting in a match. But like I said, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it now.
Well, it's not Sting, but it definitely sure be a second place in comebacks for me at least. The Rock has been promoting his latest movie Hercules on SportsCenter this week, and when he was asked if he would like to have another match in the future, he said, "Well, possibly, yeah." I know, Jacob, you're pumped any part-time wrestler comes back, so um, if let's say he only comes back from one match, who you gonna have him feud with?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously very vocal against part-time guys. They take a lot of money. Now, I'm fine with part-time guys coming if they're used right. Like the Chris Jericho is used to push new stars, and that's why I love. I don't like it when The Rock came back and faced Cena because he automatically got a title shot and he had the main event of WrestleMania. Now, he might deserve the main event, but that's a different argument for a different day. So, who would I have the Rock feud with? I have three people basically I would have the Rock feud with. I could see The Rock coming and feuding with Sting. There's the concept of Hogan, the icon, versus the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. So I could see that happening. Maybe have The Rock versus Brock Lesnar. I mean, that would be a huge match to see those two bigger in life characters go at it. And maybe push The Rock and Roman Reigns. That's something that could happen too. But what I've heard is The Rock will be promoting Fast and Furious 7 at the time of WrestleMania. So odds are he probably won't be returning anytime soon for wrestling.
And I would like to see would love for him to come back anytime. Um, I don't know currently because you can't put him in with John Cena for a third time, and he's only coming back for WrestleMania if he comes back, and so I just don't think you can do three times in a lifetime or whatever they would call it,
No,
and so.
it's done.
I did hear rumors, and this has been a while ago about maybe Brock Lesnar and The Rock, and so I would have to lean more towards that.
Cesaro went into his match against Big E on Raw without his manager Paul Heyman. Later on Raw, Paul showed up to talk to the Authority and told him there's a possible Plan C. Have we finally seen Cesaro and Heyman split?
I know you would definitely like it. He came out and I don't know, it just didn't seem like he was himself when he came out when he was all by himself, and he didn't seem like all energetic, and but I would like for him to kind of move on. I don't know where he's going to go, who you're going to have him feud with, if he's going to stay kind of a heel guy or if he's going to try moving towards face. I personally would like to see him against maybe The Miz. I think that'd be kind of a good feud. But what do you take of Heyman being absent?
See, I think that even the actions of Cesaro was all part of the story as he's nothing without Heyman. Heyman's going for the Lesnar situation. I've said since day one, I've stated publicly Heyman is not best for Cesaro. He's just like everyone else that Heyman's took for about 3 or 4 months and dropped. And I think it's great for Cesaro. You need though a character. He needs something. He's almost like this empty vessel right now that needs to be occupied. So give him a purpose. I don't know what that purpose is. That's why WWE has a creative team, but it seems like he's just lost in that mid card without anything. He had all this momentum coming from Mania, and then there's just nothing's come out of it.
Now, could you see him possibly winning the Rumble?
Yeah, he'll probably win the Battle Royal Rumble because he won the Andre the Giant one. So I'm guessing they're going to make him into this Battle Royal machine that he always wins the Battle Royal, and then maybe that'll give him something to push towards.
Well, rumors have been that the Plan C that we've been talking about is none other than Brock Lesnar. It would definitely make sense with seeing Heyman not with Cesaro, because we know that he's definitely not going to pass up any chance to manage Lesnar. Do you think we'll see him following Battleground on Monday Night Raw?
I think we will not see him at Raw. I think we will see him at Battleground. I picture this, okay? So we're going into Battleground, the Fatal 4-Way. We don't have Rollins there because he's injured. You don't have Dean Ambrose there, okay? Cena wins. They screw over Rollins, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you hear, dun, 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 and then Lesnar comes out with Triple H at the ramp, and he just F5 Cena, and then does and Heyman some best for business thing, my client, and then bam, it ends. I think that's beautiful right there. That's creative genius, if you ask me. So what do you think?
The only thing I got a problem with that is it sounded like Superman was coming out and not so much Brock Lesnar's theme music.
Yeah, I can't, no. I can't do his guitar thing that his sound hits, so.
But other than that, I love your idea. I think that would definitely, hit, because I think everybody thinks, I take that back. Everybody knows that John Cena is going to win this match. And I think to throw in a surprise like that right at the end, I think that would be great. And I could even see looking forward, a Brock Lesnar John Cena match at SummerSlam where John Cena wins and then down comes Rollins to cash in right then and there. But yeah, I think that if nothing else, he'll be back on Monday just to start the the road to SummerSlam.
Yeah, I see Cena winning at SummerSlam, but I think I see Reigns kind of carrying the belt once Mania gets closer. Well, it saddens me to say this. WWE is reported to be retiring the big gold belt, or what is formerly known as the WCW World Heavyweight Championship belt. It's an extremely prestigious belt. It's been used in the NWA, WCW, and lastly by the WWE. Its list of champions could rival WWE's championship belt with Flair, Sting, The Giant, Hulk Hogan, DDP, Bill Goldberg, Ron Simmons, Booker T, and sadly, yes, David Arquette. Was the decision to retire the belt best for business?
The way that they're handling it now, it is. Unless you're going to split them up, there's no reason to have two belts. Now, if they do this, I may be looking for another co-host, because I know you said you were retiring from watching wrestling if this happens.
Well, no, I said if they changed the belt, if it was going to be the World Heavyweight Championship, but they changed the look of it. It's so prestigious that you can't mess with that belt. You can't put spinning rims on it like they did the WWE belt and get away with it.
Yeah, and so I think it was kind of fitting that Flair was there, and he kind of walked out with it.
That was perfect. 16 times that guy just had that championship belt. So who else would you give it to?
Right, and so I would be sad for it to go, and be sad that just to think that instead of keeping it, they're keeping the United States title, and so it's not as bad as if they were keeping the television title or something like that instead. So, but as the way that they're handling it, yes, it is best for business to eliminate one for the time being. Not saying that they can't bring it back.
Right. That's exactly right. I think budget cuts is why they're doing this. I don't think they want to pay for all these belts and stuff. And the problem is with the World Heavyweight Championship, it's allowed a platform for these younger guys like a Ziggler to have a prestigious belt without possibly being the top man in the business.
Maybe they kind of faded out to bring in a network belt where it's only matches on the network. But
but it's not the World Heavyweight Championship.
WWE has decided to go away with the pre and post shows of SmackDown, and there's been rumors flying that there won't even be a post show for Sunday's pay-per-view. Do you see the network just kind of removing Raw's pre and post show next, or would we even be missing anything if they did that?
No, we won't be missing anything. I think the reason why they've been doing all these removal post shows is if you look, especially during Raw, they've put these huge things in. They're putting CM Punk's documentary. They put the Best of Nitro. They're putting all these things that we want to watch in it, and then they promote which they've been doing a lot of, the free network for the week. So I think maybe they might fade that out and put the post shows back in, but who knows? They're going to eventually run out of material to kind of be new during those time periods. So it'll be interesting seeing how long-term and the longevity of the WWE Network, how this all works out.
Now, see, the problem for me is it just comes on so late. We're both in the East Coast time zone, so maybe it fares differently. When you're in the West, but I think that hurts just being so late, especially like on Friday night at 11 o'clock. Chances are you're not going to watch a recap show of Raw or of SmackDown. And I think the other thing that really hurts the network, just for the fact of it, Raw's on USA. You have to turn on another device. You have to switch over, do whatever you need to get the Raw pre-show, and then all of a sudden you're switching over to TV, and then you have to switch back over to watch the post-show. And so I think it's a good way for, on Sundays for the pay-per-views to have the pre-shows, just because you're already on there to watch it, and chances are you get on early and you don't have to do anything, but then as soon as it's over, you're going to bed and you're not staying up till 12 o'clock just to get, like I said, a recap.
Right. Well, to go off of that, with me, the post show, if you watch Main Event or you watch SmackDown, they always do the Raw Rebound, and Raw is always the priority. Watching the post show is basically just going to watch everything you're going to see in the future. So why do you want to watch a rerun of something you just watched?
Right.
All right. Our second segment today is our Battlegrounds predictions. We have a very, very special guest with us, Zach the Professor Bohannon. He's a personal friend of mine, and I know him through my fiance, Katie. Zach, thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem, guys. It's great to get to be able to be on here with you and have some fun talking about stuff that we love, right? Wrestling.
Yeah. Now we're kind of just getting into it. We'll just ask you a few questions, kind of let our fans get to know you a little bit. What did you grow up watching? Kind of wrestling based.
Yeah, I probably started watching wrestling. I had to have been maybe 4 years old, 5 years old. This would have been the late 80s. So I grew up watching I would say the first real golden era of wrestling, with the late 80s, early 90s. That would have been my heyday. And I picked it back up again, certainly in the late 90s with the Monday Night Wars, WCW, NWO, Attitude Era, WWE. So those two, I think, golden eras were really, really a highlight for me. I lived for Saturday night's Main Event back in the late 80s. That was my Saturday night thing. My parents took me to two WWF shows when I was 6 and 7 in Cincinnati and Dayton. I got to see Hulk Hogan wrestle, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, all those guys, which was a real treat. And that was fun for them to take me to that when I was but a wee lad.
Who's your favorite wrestlers? We can go through eras if you want. So like the early 80s, who did you like watching?
I mean, all-time favorite would probably have to be Hogan. I was always a Hulkamaniac as a kid. I loved Hogan. I loved Savage. I mean, I have tons of paraphernalia from those guys. T-shirts, bandanas, hats, you name it. HBK was one of my favorites. I got to meet him back in January, which was a real treat. Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake, Flair, Steamboat, Bret Hart. I love Razor, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. As far as today's wrestlers go, this is controversial, obviously, but I am a big Cena fan. Certainly not because of his in-ring prowess, but he strikes me as a Hogan type of a guy, a hard worker. I love Ziggler. As far as I think he's one of the best workers. I love Reigns and Rollins. I think they're the next big thing, and I love keeping an eye on those guys. So those are some of my favorites.
Now, do you have a favorite match of all time? Just one that stands out?
Yeah, without a doubt, it would have to be WrestleMania 3, Savage versus Steamboat for the Intercontinental title, 1987. Pontiac Silverdome, over 93,000 in attendance. Just a unbelievable match, and a lot of current superstars and past superstars will rank that as probably one of the best of all time, if not the best. And I would have to give a close second to the Intercontinental ladder match between HBK and Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10 in 1994 at Madison Square Garden. Two matches I think that really shaped wrestling and set the wrestling trajectory, and were really landmark matches.
What's your current thoughts of the current WWE product then?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. Admittedly, I will say that I'm always going to be a WWE guy. I'll always be loyal to the company. I think just because of my history with it and my love for it, and so many memories it's provided and moments over the years. I like certain times when the storylines and the characters are compelling, and then there are other times when I'm like, man, this writing is lazy. Things make little or no sense, and I try to stick it out during those times. But I do like the family-friendly PG era. Some people wish that it were an edgier product. The Attitude Era certainly had its moments of brilliance that drew more viewers based on an edgier product, but I feel like when I watch today, my personal convictions aren't affected when I'm watching the more family-friendly version. Back in the late 90s, I was consistently changing the channel to WCW to check out the NWO, which was still edgy but not raunchy. I think there's a lot of talent on the roster today, more so than there has been in the last few years. Guys like Ziggler, Rollins, Reigns, Cesaro, even Bray Wyatt. And it'll be interesting to see how they're used. That is the main question. I would like to see more wrestling at times and less gimmicky kind of 20-minute in-ring goofiness, promos, whatever. And when it comes to promos, I think the guys could use a lot of work today, some of the guys. Certainly they could learn a lot from the Ric Flairs, the Dusty Rhodes, the Jake Roberts, Hogan, Savage, The Rock. My goodness, The Rock and Austin killed it in their promos. Match quality is fairly good. I'd like to see wrestlers make better use of in-ring psychology, maybe do a little bit better pacing, chain wrestling. I don't see guys going for an hour like Flair and Steamboat and HBK and Bret Hart used to do. And I don't like, I think I maybe heard one of you guys mention it in one of your previous segments. I don't like the part-time wrestlers.
That's me. I'm a huge anti-part. Besides Jericho, let me point that out. Jericho, you can come back any day, and I'll be happy.
I agree. Yeah, Jericho's fine. He gets a pass, but all the others, Lesnar, Rock included, I'm not a big fan of mine. I guess that I haven't formed the kinds of deep connections with a lot of those superstars today as I did back in the day. Maybe it's because I was a kid back in the day, but maybe it's because the characters aren't as well developed and guys don't stay in the company quite as long. But everything WWE does is quality. The production, it's always going to be top-notch. Everything they do, they take it seriously, like it matters. And so I think they're doing a lot of things right today. They've got a lot of great talent to work with. I think they'll be all right. So that was a long answer.
That's all right. Well, we're going to move right into our picks then, and just to get you up to speed, Zach, and if anybody hasn't listened to our show before, we're just going to go through every match and get just our thoughts and who we think is going to win. Basically, I'll give my pick and it's going to be right, and Jacob will probably give his and it won't be right.
Yeah.
Because
mine could go either way, frankly.
Yeah, and I'm the current reigning champion for the Harrell prediction belt. So I'm always pumped for this. For our kickoff show, we have Naomi and Cameron on there. And who do you think Zach will, get the best?
I got to be honest with you guys.
Do you even know who they are?
I do. I certainly do. But I could probably care less about this match. I really don't have a dog in this hunt. I haven't been watching those girls probably enough to know, honestly. I think when those girls come on, I go to the kitchen for a snack. So, so you guys know better than I.
You got to pick though. You got to pick something.
Yeah, let's see. Just throw one out there.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going with Naomi.
All right, I think I'm gonna go with probably Naomi. I see her probably going a little bit farther in the Divas. I mean, they're kind of both on the same, but I would think that she's probably got a brighter future.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the face on this because usually the matches that don't matter, they usually try to get a pop with the fans. So I'm going to go with Naomi on this one. But you're right, Zach. No one's going to watch this pre-show. It's going to be awful. So I don't get to watch this live, so I'm not going to be rewatching the pre-show when I go to watch the pay-per-view.
That's right.
Now for the rest of the matches, we really don't have kind of a timetable on it, but we'll just start out with another Divas match for the title. We have AJ Lee going against Paige. What's your pick on that, Zach?
Yeah, I've thought about this. I think that it makes more sense for AJ to retain so that she and Paige can carry on some sort of feud and maybe build up for more of a SummerSlam rematch. And I think that maybe during the build-up we can see hints of some sort of a double turn here, which may take place at SummerSlam. I don't know. Thinking about Paige turning heel and dropping that goody two-shoe bit, and then maybe AJ making the complete turn. So I got to go with the champ on that one, retaining AJ.
I'm going to go the same way. I think that kind of what you kind of touched on with AJ, keeping the belt and almost Paige going from this nice, happy-go-lucky, and then her getting upset because she's constantly losing against the champs. So what's your thoughts, Jacob?
I'm going to go with AJ too. I'm confused though because the way they're portraying it, they're both faces. It's one of those weird things because AJ's supposed to be a heel. I'm presuming she came back as a heel. And like you said, the turn, I could see them doing the turn. But yeah, I'm confused on that whole thing because they're both nice to each other. It's not right.
And nobody's going to boo AJ after that long absence and her connection with CM Punk being married.
They're going to chant CM Punk rather than boo her.
That's right.
Now next we've got Swagger versus Rusev. Are you going to go with the American on this one?
That might be wishful thinking, but I think this is one of these that could go either way in my mind. And I'll back up and say that I think a lot of these matches, to me, don't all have a clear-cut, predictable result. I think it's going to leave us guessing, and that'll make us have to, have no choice but to watch this thing. But Swagger is clearly the babyface here. Rusev, the Russian, the monster heel. But whatever happens, I think Swagger needs to take Rusev to the limits, kind of prove that he is such a credible foe, and that Rusev just can't squash him like he's been doing with so many other opponents. And in the end, I wouldn't be surprised either way, but since I have to make a prediction, I'll give the edge to the Jack Swagger, the American.
And I'm on the same page as you. I think that, Swagger is going to push him, but I don't see any benefit of Swagger beating him. And I think continuing to build the character, I think Rusev's got to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rusev too. I'm such a We the People guy, but I honestly, this is amazing because they're finally trusting him with the main event caliber player. So I think what's going to happen is Rusev's going to cheat and win. They're going to carry this on to SummerSlam, and then it'll kind of elevate them both up the pedestal a little bit.
Well, our next match, the champions Usos are going to be battling against the Wyatt family on a 2 out of 3 falls match. Who do you have for taking the tag team titles home?
I like first of all, I like the idea of bringing back the 2 out of 3 falls match. This was a staple in tag team wrestling in the 80s, And I think if any teams could hold the crowd's attention, hold them captive for as many as 3 falls, it would be these 2 teams. I tend to favor longer title reigns, so I'm hoping for an Uso victory, but I'm also predicting one. I think they retain so that the Uso-Wyatt feud can continue to and perhaps through SummerSlam. I would say maybe an X factor would be don't be surprised to see Bray Wyatt cause some sort of mayhem for the Uso boys during the match, but I think the Uso boys keep the gold.
I think I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going to go with the Wyatts just to maybe bring something different, and they'll definitely get another rematch match at SummerSlam. So I think to make that more of a pop, I think I'm going to have to go with the Wyatts.
There you go.
I'm going to go with the Usos, and I agree with you, Zach, but I see this more as this is going to be a match of the night by far. They have chemistry that's outstanding chemistry, but for me, I think that Wyatt's going to take the titles, but it's going to be at SummerSlam. It's going to be at a bigger event. That makes it a bigger deal for them to lose the titles, and then that still keeps Usos at a high level, hopefully, for the tag team division.
Point.
Plus, it depends on what they're going to do with the Dust Brothers, too, because that's who's probably going to face the next contenders of them.
Yeah, that's true, yes. Yep.
Now, our next match, the Battle Royal of the Intercontinental Championship. We got a full card on that, and it even have rumors that Barrett will be there to hand over the championship. Out of all the guys, this is definitely a long shot, Zach, but who are you going to pick?
Yeah, I was able to narrow it down to 2 before making my final decision. That's kind of what I do. I'll narrow things down, but especially when you got a big field like this. I look for either Miz or Cesaro to come out on top. I think either would make sense as Intercontinental Champ. Miz has held it before, and now he's making this comeback with this new character, which I like, by the way. I think this new character could work for him. If he wins the Battle Royal, it would play into that character pretty well. It would give him another chance to gloat and all of that sort of thing. But Cesaro is overdue for a good push because he had such an impressive win at that WrestleMania 30 Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So it's a toss-up for me there, but I think if Miz wins it, he's gonna not do it cleanly. I think Miz has to win, and then maybe Cesaro can maybe chase him down and win it at a bigger event.
Now, as much as I want to go with Bo Dallas, I'm not going to. But
I believe.
I'm going to go with the Miz just for the push and kind of the way that he's came back into the scene as the heel, and like you said, maybe win it cheatingly, or whatever. But my pick's going to be the Miz.
See, and Zach, you almost sold me. I almost changed my pick to The Miz after that. And I love the fact that The Miz is the only wrestler I know that will put his moneymaker, his face, on the screen during a match and just leave it there. Fantastic heel.
Fantastic.
But I'm going to go with Cesaro. I think after coming off the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, I think that they built the Battle Royal just for the fact they're going to give it to Cesaro, and he's going to be this machine when it comes to Battle Royals. So I'm going to say Cesaro's going to win, and he'll get his little push that he deserves with Heyman leaving the picture.
Now, moving on to Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt. Do you have a favorite in that match?
Man, this is one of the tough ones that I had a tough time with. And now they've been building up Wyatt as this totally different kind of opponent, than Jericho's other foes through the years. Jericho cut that promo in the ring last night and said as well. But this could be a very well worked match. Both of these guys are great. I'll be interested to see what kind of chemistry they have. I just think Jericho edges out Wyatt simply based on the fact that, leading up to this, Wyatt has just been beating him down the last couple of weeks on Raw. making, it's the classic thing, making a guy look weak, and then the said weak guy comes back and has a triumphant win. But I think a Jericho win makes his recent comeback look even more credible. Maybe I could be wrong. What do you think, guys?
I'm going with Jericho, just for the fact that I think I could see the WWE trying to go against what they did the last time he came back, having him lose at WrestleMania and lose early on, and so I think him winning early on would be better for the feud later on down the road.
See, I'm glad you picked that, Jonathan, because this solidifies me finally to win that belt, because Wyatt is going to win this, and I can tell you why, because Wyatt is getting this push, and Jericho always comes back to help push the younger talents. And what's going to happen is they're going to treat this just like Fandango, where Wyatt's going to win, Jericho's going to win, and then they'll probably have one more maybe where Wyatt's going to win again. But hopefully for this match, though, that I don't want interruptions from the Wyatt family. I just want it to be a straight-up brawl between Bray and Chris Jericho.
Good point. Good point. Jericho does tend to help put guys over. So
yeah, I mean, he lost to Fandango at WrestleMania. How can you put over anybody better than that?
Yeah, and he botched the lion salt, by the way.
Yeah,
that's true.
Awful.
Now moving on to some former Shield members, we have Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins going toe-to-toe. Who are you going to go on this one?
Man, I like these guys, especially Rollins. I would love to see this match be more of a showcase of these guys' technical abilities, but I think given the loose cannon nature of Dean Ambrose, I think the storyline to this point is such that a lot of it's just going to resemble a fight or a brawl, especially on Ambrose's part. I really don't have as much doubt about the outcome of this one, at least in my mind. Rollins has the momentum from his Money in the Bank win. He's going to need to sustain that. Ambrose is going to put up a valiant effort, but he'll eventually be bested by the dastardly Rollins. I just think a Rollins win is going to help keep him rolling with that briefcase and further kind of legitimize his Money in the Bank win.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going with Rollins as well. I could see Ambrose possibly getting disqualified, doing something like that to almost throw him out. And I'm really hoping Rollins wins just because I like his finisher. I like the curb stomp. So anytime I can get to see that, I'm definitely up for it.
I'm going to agree with you guys on this. I think if anything happens, I think Ambrose is going to get disqualified or something. He's the psychopath, they call him. Well, he'll let his loose cannon go and just get disqualified. But this match might not even happen because the whole storyline of Ambrose was in the hospital and Seth Rollins got injured. They might just wipe this out and continue the feud on Raw. So who knows what will happen with that.
Now for our final match in the main event, we have the champion Cena in a fatal four-way match against Roman Reigns, Kane, and Orton. Are you going to go, Zach, with the authority on this? Are we going to get an upset pick? Or?
No, well, for starters, I've never really been a big fan of fatal four-ways or triple threat matches. They can be effective when used sparingly and strategically, so maybe that's the case here. I really don't see anything happening other than Cena retaining. I don't see them taking the belt off of Cena anytime soon. With Daniel Bryan out indefinitely, the company needs a stabilizing person holding that title spot for the time being, and I think Cena is just the most logical person to do that for now. I just can't see Kane winning the title. I can't see Orton getting a big enough push again right now. I see Kane and Orton kind of fighting each other, vying for the affections of Triple H's authority, trying to be the top guy in that stable. So that really leaves Cena and Reigns to be the major players in this match, which WWE has been teasing now for the last couple weeks on Raw. It's an interesting matchup and one that we're more than likely to see in the near future, but I don't think it's Roman Reigns' time yet. He's incredibly over with the fans, but when it's his time, it needs to feel big, it needs to feel huge, it needs to be in a bigger situation like WrestleMania or maybe one of the other Big Four pay-per-views. So I see Cena retaining, maybe setting up the possibility to mix it up with Reigns down the road, or unfortunately, to maybe be free to work with Lesnar should he return for a little stint at SummerSlam.
Well, I'm going with Cena too, and I think we'll probably get a clean sweep on this just for the fact that, like you said, Reigns isn't ready, and I think Kane and Orton are moving towards their own things. But who do you have for this, Jacob?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. Cena's going to win. The Plan C is going to come into effect, and the Beast and Carnage is going to come and wreak havoc. I still predict Lesnar will be at the pay-per-view, and he will basically F5 Cena. Triple H is going to screw Reigns, and then you have the Reigns Triple H at SummerSlam. So Cena's going to win. There's no doubt on that. And then you'll probably might have a Kane Orton at SummerSlam too.
Possibly.
Well, we want to thank you, Zach, for taking some time out of your schedule to be on our show. Is there any social media that our fans can kind of look you up on, or?
No, you mean I don't have a Twitter yet. I need to get on that. I need to get in the 21st century. But for now, you can catch me on Facebook, and I'll be connected to you guys' Facebook page. I'll need to establish a connection with that, and then listeners can find me that way and ask any questions of the professor that they would like.
All right. Well, thank you again for taking some time, and we'll definitely have you back on a later date.
Yeah, I'd love to, guys. Thanks so much. It was a blast, and love talking about this stuff. I don't get many opportunities or many outlets to do that, and you guys have a great show, and best of luck to you, and I look forward to joining you again.
All right. Well, thank you. Now moving into our third and final segment, we will move straight into WWE Network, what to watch, maybe our reviews for it. This week they've added Best of Nitro to the list, as well as CM Punk's documentary on the Beyond the Ring part. What's exciting you for the network, Jacob?
With the adding of Best of Nitro, that was exciting. They've given us little teasers of these new shows. I own the Best of CM Punk, best in the world. So they're just milking him for as long as they have him until they release him. But WrestleMania Rewinds is really what I've been watching the most of, besides the countdowns.
Now, I watched the Best of Nitro, and it is a normal DVD, and they've just pretty much condensed it down into an hour-long show. And so I was watching it the other day and was just kind of disappointed and wanting to see more. But like you said, they kind of leave you wanting more and trying to get your interest build again on WCW. Right. And it's almost the same thing with CM Punk, because this is something, I believe it may have been on Netflix for a while. So it's not like it's super new like they were pushing it on Raw.
Right.
So
with that Nitro, I'm sure they're going to make more parts of it. They gotta start stretching things out, because I'm guessing the creative team behind the networks is kind of going to start grabbing straws eventually, because you run out of material. So
right, and you're going to have to come up with something to fill the times. Mm-hmm. Well, our birthdays and anniversaries of the week, I will start with the birthdays, and Brock Lesnar is turning 37 on, actually he turned it on the 12th of July, so the Beast is looking for maybe a birthday appearance next week.
Yep, and then our anniversary week on July 15th, 2002, Vincent Kennedy McMahon named Eric Bischoff as the Raw GM. That was a totally shocking moment for most people, to have a guy that tried running you out of business to run your business. All right, so we have some Twitter questions as our next segment. First, we have at Panpodcast. You can go to speaker.com/user/podcast about nothing to view his podcast. His question to you, Jonathan, was thoughts on the Heyman being separated from Cesaro?
We kind of touched on it earlier. Think that he's just really getting out of there so he can get with Brock Lesnar. It's kind of, do I pick the best guy that I feel like, where I'm going to get the most publicity, or do I go with maybe an up-and-comer? And so I think it's kind of predictable, nothing really new. Our next question comes from Ozzy1213. She asked, what do you think of Bo Dallas and Adam Rose?
Uh, we both are Believers. We can admit that. We've stated before that, and you especially last week said Bo Dallas can't be in these gimmick roles, and he's starting to get into that, trying to take over Santino's space, and he needs to be in more serious matches for him to really, really kind of elevate his character and be relevant. I think we both can agree Adam Rose is sinking ship. That if it was a stock, you'd be selling that really quick. All right, we have at Wrestling Talk SH. You can watch his Wrestling Talk Show on YouTube. Just search Wrestling Talk Show. He asked, what do you think about Sting being in 2K or 2K15 as a pre-order?
I'm excited. This is actually going to be the first wrestling game I've pre-ordered, I believe, ever. So I guess that, shows how excited I am for it. Um, I'm more just I'm really hoping they bring some kind of WCW versus WWE, where they've done the WrestleManias in the past. Maybe do some of these matches in between. I think that'd be definitely great for the game.
I agree.
At the Kick Out Show, and you can find him at thekickout.show.com as well. Starts in 42 days. Check out the countdown. He asked, what do you think will happen this year with the WWE?
It's actually a she. I just want to correct that.
Oh,
Nothing
I'm
wrong.
sorry.
No, it's okay. I think with the WWE this year, I think we will see some surprise returns. I think Batista will be coming back here after SummerSlam. I think we will see Kurt Angle return in October. So you can start chanting "You suck" when he comes out. I'm hoping we'll see some surprises eventually pop up. I think after SummerSlam, we have this long haul basically to get to Rumble that maybe we'll see Roman Reigns with a little title run. Maybe see a surprise champion, but odds are we probably won't. We'll see Cena long run again. And then our last one is one of our buddies that will be appearing on his podcast at Matt Turmoil. You can check out his podcast at mattturmoil.podbeam.com. He asked you, Jonathan, who will win the IC Battle Royal at Battleground?
There's a couple favorites. Like we said earlier, Cesaro would definitely be a favorite. You've got The Miz. And I think I'm going to stick with my pick that I said earlier on in the show during our predictions. And I'm just going to go with The Miz. That's who I'm going to stick with.
That's a good pick. I would pick Cesaro if I had a pick.
Well, now moving into our final segment, our favorite time of the show, we'll go into our leaving thoughts. And Jacob, you got 30 seconds on the clock, so what are you going to rant about?
I'm going to start challenging people. That's my 30 seconds. I am challenging right now the WWE Board of Directors to get Sting in a match at WrestleMania. I know Triple H has publicly said before, a 55-year-old wrestler is not a priority, but if you look at all the buzz, Sting's been trending for 3 straight days, all the merchandise he's probably going to be selling. Me and you both talked about pre-ordering the video game, and that's astonishing to me. This is the first Raw I've seen live in forever. Sting is best for business.
All right. I like the challenge idea.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I'm going to spend my 30 seconds on talking some NBA basketball. They finally kind of cleared up the off-season moves and trades and signs and everything. And I just want to take this time personally to thank Carmelo Anthony for signing with the Knicks, staying in the East, basically tanking that whole franchise for the next 5 to 6 years and kind of leaving the door open for the Pacers. So thank you, Carmelo Anthony.
It pays to suck. So thank you for listening to Harrell Wrestling Talk. Listen and watch our next podcast every Friday. We would love to have fan interaction. So follow us at Twitter at HWT Podcast. Like us at Facebook at HWT Podcast. and subscribe to our YouTube channel, HWT Podcast. Feel free to give feedback, corrections, and any advice is always welcome. We would love to have sponsorships. You can contact us at Harrell, Harrell, Wrestling Talk @outlook.com. Last advice we will give you before we leave: if your girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, or husband says you watch too much wrestling, tell them that's impossible. Till next time, Wrestling World, keep listening and keep watching.